So we're starting our program tonight. Welcome everyone to this green bin session. I'd like to start this evening by expressing gratitude for this gathering tonight, for all who have taken their time to be here and who will contribute to this session and this discussion tonight. Although we are online, tonight in the City of London, we are gathering on the treaty and traditional lands of the Anishinaabeg of the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, the Lenape of the Munsee Delaware Nation, and the Attawandaron Nation. This is also the treaty and traditional territory of the Oneida Nation, which is part of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. We honor and respect the history, languages, and cultures of the diverse Indigenous peoples who call this territory home and their stewardship of this land. Thank you for sharing in this reflection. And let's share our agenda for tonight. As you see, we've had our welcome and our hello from Caitlin and Mackenzie. And so we're going to hear first from Jay Stanford with the City of London, and then Jessica Favalero, also from the city, will moderate the session with Diana, Joan, and Alexander, who have had experiences using the Green Bin program in other cities. Next, we'll have Mike Leopold, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Convertus Group, and then we will take your questions. We'll wrap up and let you know about some future events and some other places you can go for information. So with that, I'm now going to welcome Caitlin with one other statement here. Just want to say, because there's so many of us on the call, we're almost up to, well, we're over 450 people. I just want to say that it's our intention to offer a welcoming and inclusive environment for everyone. So please reflect on this as you share your comments and in your discussions tonight. And as I say, we'll follow up after tonight with any questions that we're not able to answer. So let's welcome Caitlin, and Caitlin's going to share some poll questions so we can get to know you better.
Thanks, Joanna, and hi, everyone. Welcome. So yeah, just to start off, Mackenzie is going to display some poll questions. You'll see them pop up right on your screen. And just because in online environments, it can be harder to, and we're not seeing our audience, it's just nice to be able to get a gauge for where you're coming from and some of your experiences, for example, whether or not you've used a green bin in another city before. So we will wait just a couple moments while everyone has a chance to respond. And yeah, it's completely voluntary and confidential. So if you choose not to respond to the poll, you can just press the X in the top right corner. So yeah, we'll just wait a few more seconds, and then Mackenzie, when you're ready, if you don't mind. Sorry, I see people are still putting in their answers here, which is great. Yeah, maybe in just a few seconds, Mackenzie, if you don't mind, just displaying the answers. And then you all may have seen as well, I'll be posting in the chat, and there's some resource links to refer back to as well.
Lots of answers.
Great. Yeah. So it looks like, yeah, if you want to display the results, it looks like, yeah, thanks everyone. So it looks like a lot of people that are attending have not participated in a green bin program in another city before. Fairly even distribution of which collection zones people are in, and some anticipation about having difficulty with biweekly garbage pickup. So yeah, that's great to know. And I hope you'll all find this session useful and that we'll be able to answer some of your questions and concerns. So thanks, everyone. And yeah, with that, I will introduce our first speaker of the evening, Jay Stanford. So Jay Stanford is the Director of Climate Change, Environment, and Waste Management with the City of London. So thanks for joining us, Jay, and I will pass the floor over to you.
Thanks, Caitlin. So let me see if I can get this up properly. And if you could let me know that I'm on the screen.
Yep, you're good.
Wonderful. Okay, well, welcome everyone. And if I saw the last few numbers there, it looks like we're well over 460 people. So wonderful turnout. Thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. Going to go over the next 20 minutes, cover off, probably a handful of subject areas, including a little bit of the why. Why are we here with respect to food and food waste? Talk about the green bin program, of course, the changes that are coming up, and a lot of the questions that we've actually fielded at the city over the last little bit, dealing with green bin delivery and getting the information into your hands. So let me just talk a little bit about food and what's in the garbage bag. And I think most of you might be a little bit surprised when you realize that on a per weight basis or by weight basis, a full third of what's in the average garbage bag in London would be classified as food waste. And of that third, about 2/3 is actually avoidable food waste. And that should be a bit of a shocker because that's word avoidable is really key. And if we ask ourselves, why are we looking at a green bin program? Well, we start off by saying that item, the avoidable food, how do we tackle that best? Well, first is to understand it. Those are those sandwiches, the moldy cheese, French fries and other potatoes, hot dogs, full package of hot dogs perhaps, that you chose not to eat and ended up in the garbage. Those items are there, unfortunately, and we're going to have to manage them, but we have to ask ourselves, why are they there? 5 easy tips, and I know that as you're looking at these on the screen right now, they are easy, and you're doing many of them probably right now. The question is, or the comment is, we all need to do more. And these are just some of the easy things that should be occurring in your daily lives to help reduce food waste, the number one thing we all need to focus on. And I guess if you want to know why a little bit more, well, let's tie in climate change. The food distribution system accounts for worldwide 1/3 of our greenhouse gases, essentially a large climate change problem. And we all have an opportunity here to help correct that. Now, when we look at the food distribution system, our food comes from around the world. Some comes just from southwestern Ontario, but it all goes through a number of processes, from farming, crop and animal management, to transportation and distribution, and then finally consumption, and unfortunately, food waste that's created. Well, that does have a climate impact, as I just said, but financially, let's look at what's not in your wallet. Information from right here in London and also confirmed in other areas of Ontario and across Canada, about $1,000 per household per year of avoidable food waste is tossed in the garbage. That number adds up. Right here in London alone, that would be between $100 and $120 million per year. And that would actually even grow larger if you brought in some of the other sources that you see on the screen. Why does that matter? Well, not only is money in your pocket important, but okay, let's face it, if we can't reduce at all, but even 10%, just think what $10 to $12 million would do saved locally. That's in your wallet. It can be spent on other items. It can be put to savings, it can be donated, pay for programs. And environmentally, from a greenhouse gas perspective, there are savings there as well, about 30,000 tons per year, both locally and globally. A lot of good things to think about. The other key piece is that food waste and managing it the way we're about to here in London and the way many communities already are across Ontario, it's the law. And for 2025, these programs must be in place. We're tackling the curbside program first, and we'll be talking about the multi-residential program a little bit later today and in the next couple of months. Home composting, let's not forget about that. I know many in London are doing this. Should not change. Please carry on those wonderful habits. And in fact, at the city, we do our best to encourage more of that. You will find subsidized home composters and home digesters available at our Enviro depots. And at $20, this is just a great investment. Not only can you produce a product at home that you can use on your gardens, you're also actually helping to reduce costs. To sum up just that initial part here, when we look at reduce, reuse, recycle, the 3 Rs. We've all grown up with that term. It's often associated with recycling, but it does apply equally well here to organics and food waste. Buy what you need, avoid food waste, and then manage what's left, either through on-site composting or the green bin. And speaking of that, well, we've been at it, I guess, since late October, delivering. Now we're over 127,000 green bins have been delivered here in London. We still have a few more that will trickle out this week as we get ready for our launch on January 15th. We've also entered into a number of townhome complexes. In that case, sometimes a slightly different system is being delivered, but it's still going after your green bin materials. We still have 60 townhome complexes to tackle over the next 1 to 2 months. These are locations where we still have to make contact with superintendents and on-site property managers to make sure we get the right system in place for these about 3,900 units. So to repeat, we're out there with about 127,000 households all ready to go next week. What's been delivered, most of you have opened up your green bin, I sure hope, and inside you will have found the 7-liter container, as well as information, our waste reduction and conservation guide, as well as the new collection calendar and other information contained inside the green bin. What goes in it? Well, I'll tell you, just think of anything to do with food waste. You saw some examples before when we're talking about food that can be avoided. If you're not able to avoid it, make sure it gets into that green bin. And for the food waste, even think about things such as eggshells, bones, shells from nuts or seafood, that can all go in the bin, along with what we refer to as some food soiled paper products, paper napkins, paper towel. As long as you haven't used that as a cleaning item, and it's just to maybe mop up some food that is spilled because that's the item you've chosen, that can go into the green bin. Plus a few other items on the right-hand side of the screen, household plants, for example, or fresh cut flowers when they've had their, well, I guess when they've expired and you don't want to put them into your backyard composter, out into the green bin, please. Your guide contains the long, long list of all those items. Most important, though, is what you need to keep out. And that phrase at the bottom, if in doubt, keep it out. You see in red here, items, cigarettes, chewing gum, diapers, incontinence products, wipes, all items to keep out. Pet waste and kitty litter, please keep out. Plastic items, even if it's a wrap around 3 slices of bread, we want the bread, not the plastic bag. Please take that off, or please remove the bread and put that plastic bag, in this case right now, into the garbage. Speaking of a couple items I just raised, yes, there's going to be some challenges. Pet waste, diapers, incontinence products will have to be managed 4 to 6 days longer than the current program. That's something that we'll talk a little bit more about later. And I know here at London, we've had a lot of questions about that. This is the system that we put in place for now, and we'll come back to that item. If you need to have an extra bag or container at the curb, yes, you can. It does cost $2. It's a fee that's been just recently raised. We've had this fee in London since 2012, where it was $1.50, and it's just now gone up. There will be 4 3-container exemption periods that we've had as part of our past program. Those exist now as part of your new collection calendar. Liners. It's not a requirement, but some people may choose to have liners either for their kitchen container or for the green bin at the curb. This will be your choice. There's a lot of choices in the marketplace. What you see on the screen is just a couple of the different options. Some people will actually use just a little bit of newspaper or perhaps cardboard or a greasy pizza box to help just secure some of those food or organics that go into the green bin. So there'll be a variety of choices that I think people will eventually find the right solution that meets their needs. The key part, no plastic bags, please. The collection schedule, yes, it is changing. And there's some good news and perhaps some not so good news, depending on what side of the coin you're on. Green bin and blue box collection, well, that's going to move up to a weekly service, except for statutory holidays. Garbage is moving to every 2 weeks. And as I saw early in the poll, that's going to be a concern of some, and it's good to know. But I also saw about 55% that already believe no problem, and they haven't even tried it. Interesting, though. It's these perspectives that are really important, because we're launching this program, and what we're really asking is that, based on other communities, we've selected what we believe is correct for London. Please try it for a good couple of months before you make up your final mind on how things are working. Yard waste collection, we're actually going to have a little bit more frequent pickup from every 5 weeks, from every 6 weeks down to 5 weeks. And large bulky items, the nature of the collection vehicles, and you see one of those on the screen, we can no longer collect a large mattress or a large couch every pickup. It does not fit into the back of those vehicles. That is why we now have to move into a booking system. Small items, no problem. A chair, a small dresser, a small table, that will fit in that larger side of the garbage truck. The organics go on the smaller side of that truck. If you look at the numbers of pickups, I think this is interesting here. So green bin, we're going from 0 to 50. And remember, that is where a lot of your smelly, your yucky materials will be placed. So that frequency goes up dramatically. Garbage, as I said, will be reduced by about 38%, from 42 pickups now down to 26. Blue box is going up from 42 to 50, about a 20% increase. So overall, we're shuffling the deck of cards, would be one way to look at it. And the deck is going to look different. The deck is going to look different because you've got the green bin program being introduced. You've got more pickups there. And overall, there's actually more pickups at the curve. They're just divided up a little differently. I talked about this very briefly. You've got to call in. Simple as that. That takes time and effort, and we do appreciate that, but those large items have to be scheduled. We can't have trucks just driving around wondering if there are items out there. That is why we need you to take a little additional time and establish that booking system, and then you'll place it out after notifying us on your next garbage collection day. Medium items, no problem. The calendar, it's delivered to your homes. You've got it. We now have gone from 6 zones, A through F. Starting Monday will now be A through E. So some of you may have changed zones. That's why it's very important to look at that calendar. And of course to note, and you can see on the screen here, 1 week you've got green bin, a couple blue boxes, and a garbage container. The next week you only have those blue boxes and green bin. And you see there in the month of February how all zones will actually shift 1 day after a statutory holiday. So you will stay on the same day for 4 or 5 weeks in a row. Then you shift 1 day and remain on that day for the next number of collections until the next statutory holiday. We have done this to make sure that we don't have a situation where everyone on Friday would be shifted to a Saturday on a regular basis in a week with a statutory holiday, like some communities. So these are some of the trade-offs. The majority of communities do not collect on statutory holidays. Some do, but not the majority. Therefore, the notion of shifting a day occurs in most municipalities in Ontario and other locations in Canada. Couple tools that are available and have been for a while. Our Recycle Coach app, very popular. About 65,000 of you have downloaded that. An ideal way to get information right to your mobile device. On the city's website, we have our Zone Finder tool. All great opportunities to help you get the information you need, and as well to find out if you've not opened up or you've misplaced your information, to find out where your collection zone is. I don't have to talk much about this because one of our guests tonight, Mike Leopold from Convertus, will be talking all about the processing of London's green bin materials and turning them into a variety of products that are used in the marketplace not far from London. When we met with council, and we've gone back and forth with them as we developed this program, and based on other communities, council directed staff to come back with a report in June on how we've been doing over the first 3-4 months, and one in December. The one in December is we will now have gone through the hot summer months. So there is going to be opportunities to hear from you on a regular basis about things that are working well, that are not working, that you'd like to see changed. Are you prepared to pay more for changes, for example? Items to be focused on will be pet waste, managing diapers. These are key items that will be part of our future reporting. Multi-residential, the high-rise buildings. We will be starting a couple pilot projects shortly in the month of probably February or March. Stay tuned for further details on that. There'll only be about 10 to 15 buildings with pilot project in London. This will be part of the development phase for moving forward. As you saw, it is the law that more systems have to be put in place for building owners. The thing that's different with the laws is that the building owner has a lot more responsibility, and that is what we have to work out with them from a city staff perspective. I'm going to wrap up here with just some of the frequently asked questions. And I'm just trying to keep track of time here. I believe I'm doing okay there, Caitlin, time-wise. So
Yep.
what you have on the screen here are kind of the 7 questions that are quite popular. If you didn't get a green bin, please contact us. If your green bin was stolen, the green bins have barcodes. We will help you track that down. And yes, we will initially replace these. So let's make sure everyone's got that green bin. Can you get a second one? I'd love to say yes, but the answer is no. Our focus right now is to get one to everyone. We are looking at where retail options might exist in this case. We do know that some stores actually carry a green bin that's very similar to the ones that have been provided by the city. If your green bin is damaged, contact us. We will review the situation. The bins are under warranty. If you are a tenant and you're about to leave, the green bin must be left behind for the next tenant. So please do that. Composting at home. For some reason, just don't want the green bin. Well, please, we want it back. Contact us. And you'll have the contact numbers a couple times today. And why can't you use a plastic bag as a liner? Well, it's clear, plastic bag, it's just not going to compost. And it adds to the process cost. So for now, the plastic bag is an item that we don't want. If you're going with a bag as a liner, remember that word, certified compostable plastic is an item that must be used. We will not accept anything like the plastic bag. And the top 3 questions that are coming in. Yes, pet waste. We've heard from many of you. It is an item that is going to be considered, as you've heard. But right now, pet waste is all too often picked up in plastic bags, and it's sending such a mixed message. That is one of the reasons we didn't start out of the gate with pet waste, part of the green bin. We are focusing on what we believe are referred to as clean organics, much easier to understand. Half the communities in Ontario keep pet waste out for the same reasons that we're talking about here. Should we decide to add it, and the we there is obviously through hearing from you, and then of course a council decision, it'd be a cost increase in the order of about $400,000 per year. So it's not a no forever, but right now, getting out of the starting point, please don't put it into the green bin, back into the garbage bag. How do you handle diapers and incontinence products? The same way you've been handling them to date. But yes, you will be required to keep them 4 to 6 days longer than the current cycle. We've talked about the ability that you can put an additional bag at the curb, and when we talk about containers, quite often a container holds 1 or 2 bags, but all we ask is that you watch the weight. The weight of a container or a bag can be no more than 20 kilograms or about 44 pounds. So number 2, hopefully that for some of you listening tonight, that helps with some answers. And then if you've got more, remember there's going to be that opportunity when we get launched for further feedback. And the number 1 is, why are we going with this biweekly garbage collection? I'll tell you, It is sure going to encourage the use of the green bin program. We have learned that from our colleagues in other cities, that when you reduce the garbage collection service, it really helps to promote the green bin. And with food waste being such a large proportion, upwards of a third by weight of your garbage bag, the green bin service is weekly. So that is why we've moved to bi-weekly. It also encourages more recycling, so more service is being offered. The odorous portion, a big one, the food waste, of course, is collected much more frequently. So that should help with those challenges. Overall, it's also helping to reduce the cost of the program. If curbside garbage collection was offered on a weekly basis, unfortunately, the program cost would be another $1 to $1.5 million per year. So the reduced service level there is also a cost containment item introduced into the system. It is also very consistent with the majority of green bin communities in Ontario. And my final slide. Thanks very much for listening. Hopefully I've answered some. I'm going to be sticking around. Your comments are important. And as you've heard tonight, hopefully we're going to be able to get to many of them through the presentations and answering them directly. If not, we will do our best to get back as quickly as possible after the session tonight. And my last comment would be, as we launch something new, we're asking for your patience. It takes time. It takes more time for you, and we thank you for that. But it's also going to take more time for us to get a better appreciation of the collection system that we have going forward. So that's my bit for now. So over to you, Caitlin. Thanks very much. I will find a way of shutting this one down.
Thank you so much. And yeah, looking at the questions, kind of just skimming through, I can already see that you've touched on a number of those questions. So yeah, thank you for all the information. And yeah, just a reminder for everyone, I'm loving to see that you're using the Q&A. Just continue to do so throughout the program. And with that, I will introduce our next moderator, Jessica Favalero, and she will start our green bin panel discussion with the lived experiences. So Jessica is the manager of waste diversion programs with the city. And yeah, and then I will let her introduce our panelists.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining this session. I'm going to be facilitating in the panel discussions with the three panelists who have joined the session this evening. They're here tonight to share their lived experience with participating in a green bin program in another city or in another community. So I'll first start with introducing each of the panelists. Each of the panelists will introduce themselves and share where they've lived and participated in the green bin program. So first, why don't we get started with Alexander? If you could please start us off. Can you provide an introduction to yourself and share which community you lived in where you used a green bin program?
Sure, absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Morgenthaler, and I'm a PhD candidate at the Western University. And I am very happy to be a part of this session and share my lived experiences with the green bin program in Victoria, British Columbia.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to Diana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Bumstead, and I'm excited to be here as well. I lived in Kitchener in the region of Waterloo, and where I participated in their green bin program.
Thank you. And our last panelist, Joan.
Hi, my name is Joan. I also used to live in Kitchener, where I participated in the municipal green bin program when I was living in a house. And also when I was living in a condo, we had a private organics collection.
That's great. Thank you all for joining this evening and sharing your lived experience with using a green bin program in those cities that you've shared. So as a first question to each of you, how long did it take to learn to separate food scraps using the kitchen container and placing them into the green bin? And did you have to do anything special? So first we'll start with Diana.
Sure, and it really didn't take a long time at all. The City of Kitchener reached of Waterloo had a really good website. I just looked at it to see what would be accepted and not. The only thing I did do was I did buy compostable bags because I don't like messes. And so I did put those in the kitchen container for composting. And I think I did put newspaper in the bigger container just so there's no leaks, and because I don't like to clean up stuff.
All right. And Joan, how long do you think it took you to separate out those food scraps? And is there anything special that you had to do?
It only took like a week or two. I was moving from a situation where we basically had a garbage and a dumpster to a house with curbside pickup. So everything was new. So everything was new. Part of the challenge was actually working things through with my housemates because I had housemates, and just making sure that we were all on the same page in terms of what goes in the bin, who's responsible for emptying it from the kitchen container into the larger container, and logistics like that.
All right. And let's hear from Alexander. How was your experience with separating food scraps in the kitchen, and if there was anything that you had to do special with those items?
To echo Diana, it didn't take very long at all, probably a week or two. And I similarly just went on to the city website, made sure that I was aware of what could go in and not in the various bins, and also purchased liners for the various bins as well, so that the messes would be reduced. And also, I found that putting reminders in either your phone or a note by your kitchen sink, so that you would be reminded of putting the scraps in the green bin, especially initially, helped a lot.
That's great. And thank you for sharing all of those tips. I'll move on to the second question. Which food items did you find were the most difficult or challenging to separate, and why do you think that is? Let's first start with Joan.
So most difficult to separate, I found, were like the things that you find in the back of the fridge after not cleaning out your fridge for a very long time, just because it's like really disgusting and gross, and you're like, do I really want to go through this exercise? The other thing that is challenging, not so much in that it's hard to separate, but things that are really wet, because they're heavy and they tend to make your compost like liners leak. So those are also like coffee grinds or something like that.
Thank you. And Alexander, your feedback?
I would definitely second with the stuff in the back of the fridge. That is always a challenge. And one thing that I would say is also really hard to separate is, and this will depend on the program, but in my experience, separating the meat from the bones, if the bone is not accepted, like scraping that off, is actually really, really difficult.
Okay. And just provide an answer to that question. In the City of London program, bones will be an acceptable item in the green bin, so they won't have to experience that. And lastly, Diana, would you like to share your experience with any food items that you had found difficult or challenging to separate?
I didn't really find a lot of food items difficult or challenging to separate. The only thing, like what Joan said, was if you have leaky stuff, that can sometimes be a challenge. So having the newsprint or whatever at the bottom of your kitchen container, that always helps kind of also absorb odors as well, and the leaks.
Yeah, those are really great tips. Thank you for sharing. So the third question is, if you had to pick one or two items that are your most favorite part about participating in the green bin program, what would that be? So your most favorite part about participating. We'll start with Alexander.
That's a tough one. I'd probably have to say one or two things that I find to be my favorite about participating in green bin is how it relates to the circular economy and how it relates to the sustainability of the entire planet and how you're helping the environment with even just a small element. So you're helping in that little way, but if everybody does it, it forms quite a large impact.
Right. And Diana, what are your favorite part about participating in the Green Bin program?
Yeah, totally to echo Alexander, I wanted to reduce my environmental footprint, and I knew that composting would be a great way to do that, but I lived in a duplex and I didn't have a garden. So, and like food digesters, different than the ones Jay were talking about, are quite expensive. So, or at least they were at the time. So this was great because it was easy. The city or the region did it, and all I had to do was put the food in the container and then take it out to the curb on the right day.
That's great. And lastly, Joan, if you had to pick one or two items, what would be your most favorite about participating in the Green Bin program?
So this is less about the program, but part of like more about my experience with the program. One of my housemates decided to decorate our container with little messages that say like, have a good day, and like a bunch of, kind of fun things to cheer everybody up. This was the beginning of COVID, so. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you for sharing that. We all know that change takes time. However, there must be some things that you do not, or there may be things that you didn't like about the Green Bin program, whether it was when it had started up or, things throughout. Is there anything that comes to mind? So Diana, we'll start with you.
I've already kind of talked about the leaks. So that did happen. And if you have to take it out regularly, like every week, otherwise it'll start to smell. I found.
And Alexander, what's your thoughts on something that maybe wasn't as favorable for you for the Green Bin program?
In my experience, there wasn't a whole lot that I disliked about it. I definitely echo Diana on the smell and the necessity to take it out quite often, and also the leaks as well.
All right. And do you have any further tips for how you had managed those liquids and odors with your experience?
Mostly through ensuring that compostable bags are properly sealed with compostable ties and things like that, so that the leaks would not seep through into the bin, or using some other form of liner.
Okay. And lastly, Joan, your feedback on anything that you did not like about the Green Bin program?
So I was in a situation where I was living in a house without a garage. So actually emptying out your kitchen container into the larger bin involved going outside, which is fine during most of the year, but in the winter, because our larger bin was outside, sometimes the lid would kind of freeze shut. So there was a little bit of defrosting / like ice chipping that you had to do to get the container open. So that would be a little bit of a heads up. If you can keep your outdoor bin in a garage, that tends to go better.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about garbage collection. So how did the Green Bin program impact the amount of garbage that you previously placed at the curb on garbage collection day? So we'll start with Diana.
So it definitely reduced it. So previous to the compost program, I'd have those black plastic garbage bags that I'd be taking out. But after, even bi-weekly, you just have the small plastic bag of garbage instead of the big black one. So it greatly reduced the amount of garbage I found.
Okay, that's great. And Joan, what was your experience like?
I don't have a very good before and after comparison because I moved when that's how I started the program. So I'm not really sure.
Okay, but I guess the question could be then changed to on average, like how much did you find you were setting out? Were you setting Is there some sort of number of bags or some other metric you could share with us?
I would say like they were very not comparable situations, like the number of people in our household changed, and so it really hard to compare.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And Alexander?
In a similar vein to Joan, I unfortunately don't have quite a direct comparison to before and after, because when I moved to Victoria, they already had the green bin in place and all of that. So, but in terms of alternate metrics, it definitely reduced the amount of bags that I had to put out because there was a separation between the spoiling food that was generating all the odors and all the rather distasteful elements of garbage that we usually want to dispose of, and then the other elements of trash. So there was these two separate bags, and that allowed for it to be taken out less often.
Okay. All right, so we are at the final question, which is also related to garbage collection. We'd like to hear about what was your experience like with biweekly garbage pickup? And if there was a shift from to biweekly garbage pickup, how did you find that shift? Did that pose any problems for you? And how did you work around that? So first, why don't we start with Joan?
Yeah, so biweekly garbage pickup wasn't a problem for us. The challenge with it was just remembering if it is a garbage pickup week or not. And so the regional water Kitchener had like an app that would send you notifications, reminders. So that was kind of how we handled it.
Okay, and Alexander?
Sort of similar to Joan, didn't really have much issue with the biweekly garbage pickup. Definitely remembering which week was the week of our garbage pickup was definitely an issue. Also, when going on vacations, this did pose a bit of a logistical issue, because if you went on vacation before the garbage pickup time, it would then accumulate. So we would often have to ask one of our neighbors to take our bins out for us.
Okay. All right, and Diana?
So also my parents were also in Kitchener, and they also had the compost program, and they noticed that a lot more people composted after we shifted to the biweekly program, and also there was an additional charge for more than 2 bags of garbage. So that helped with that. But like Joan and Alexander, it's just remembering when to take it out. I mean, sometimes I look and see, are my neighbors putting out their compost, and sometimes they'd be wrong. But or like for putting out their garbage, I mean, and then anyway, but if you just check the website, it's usually quite easy to remember.
Right, and signing up for automated reminders also helps with all of that. So I'm just gonna do a quick time check. We're good. Okay. Oh, sorry. So I want to thank Alexander, Joan, and Diana for sharing all of their feedback on their lived experiences for using the Green Bin program in other communities. We heard a lot of really great tips and tricks and things to keep in mind and for success of the Green Bin program, and also some other things to keep in mind. That were some really great experience shared, and we got into some of the different seasons, so coming up in the winter months. Thank you for sharing all of that, and I'll pass it back over to Caitlin.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, like Jessica said, thank you all for sharing your experiences. It's really interesting to hear about different perspectives and yeah, everything that you've experienced in other communities with the Green Bin programs. So now I would like to introduce our last speaker of the evening, Mike Leopold, who is the Chief Executive Officer with Convertis Group, and Mike will be sharing an overview of the composting processes and products produced at their facility. So welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate the introduction. So I pulled together a presentation just so that the community can get a little bit better idea of who we are. And so I'm going to share my screen. And I've also got a video included, which I find a little bit easier for the layman to see exactly what we do at our facility. Just put it into presentation mode, and we should be good to go. That pop up into presentation mode.
We can still see the sidebar.
How's that now?
There we go.
Full screen. Perfect. So Convertis, closing the loop for a better future. I think one of the earlier panelists talked about the circular economy. And so Convertis is at the root of the circular economy. This is giving used products new life, specifically around organics. So Convertis is Canada's largest and most advanced organic waste operator. We process over 500,000 tons of organic waste a year. This is across Canada. We operate 13 facilities. We are in British Columbia, Ontario, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and we have a small site in Maine in the US. We make over 200,000 tons of finished organic compost is produced at our sites, and we produce 80,000 gigajoules of renewable natural gas. That's mainly in our British Columbia, Surrey site. So I want to start off a little bit about us in the London community. So one of the things we do is we want to make sure that we give back and are active members of the communities that we operate in. So in London, we've been very actively involved with the Chamber of Commerce as well with Green Economy London. We've been recognized as environmental leadership finalists, and we were also the Environmental Steward of the Year winner back in 2021. Our facility, our biogas facility in Surrey was recognized as the Biogas Industry Project of the Year both in 2019, and that's kind of our flagship where we produce renewable natural gas. Making an impact further to this, we have a PAR commitment, which is Progressive Aboriginal Relationships. So we're a level 1 certified employer. We have a living wage employer. So what this means is that in the communities we operate in, we ensure that all of our employees make what they call a living wage. So that's not minimum wage, but it's a wage in order that they can live a decent lifestyle, afford mortgages, rent, things like that. So we're very proud of our living wage employer across Canada. In London specifically, we've been actively involved with Reforest London in community tree drives, and we've also been involved in the London Environmental Network and Green Economy London. So there's just a couple of pictures of us cleaning up and giving back. Of course, because we are a green company, it's very important for us to participate in events like Earth Day cleanups. So you can see that that's actually a picture from the Netherlands in the bottom left of our engineering group over there. And in the bottom right, that's the tree depot that we offer every year through Reforest London at our head office. So a little bit about our facilities, anaerobic digestion, and I apologize for the grade 9 science lesson, but anaerobic digestion is when organic waste is processed without the presence of oxygen. And so what happens is it ferments and it produces renewable natural gas. We do that at our Surrey, British Columbia facility. And we are also awarded a contract in the GTA with York region, and we're building a new facility there that will kick off this summer. In-vessel composting is aerobic, so this is done with oxygen, and in this case here, we're taking organic matter and we're converting it into NASM or compost. This is what is done in our London facility, our Ottawa facility, and our Nanaimo, British Columbia facility. Two of the other technologies we have in St. Francois, New Brunswick, we take chicken manure and we turn it into an organic certified fertilizer. And then also we have two palletizing plants, one in Miramichi, New Brunswick, and one in Maine, where we bag over 14 million bags of soil and compost per year that's used in the Eastern Seaboard. We co-pack for a lot of brands such as Scott's, Loblaws, Sobeys, Costco, and you would actually purchase some of that in Ontario. You wouldn't know it was ours because it's packaged under their label, but it comes from our New Brunswick facility. So a little bit about our London plant. Our London plant is located in the south end, kind of where the new updated Costco is. It's been around since 2006. It is tunnel composting, which I talked about a little bit earlier. So this is aerobics. We're taking organic material and converting it into compost. Our feedstocks are SSO. This is exactly what the London program is going to be. This is source segregated. So as residents, you are segregating it into the green bin. We also can take leaf and yard waste there, as well as IC&I. And IC&I is industrial, commercial, and institutional. So this would be from food producers, some of their offtakes, or it also could be from restaurants, Tim Hortons, things like that. We have 12 tunnels in total that we process the organic waste in London. And so once it's been pre-processed, it goes into one of our tunnels and it remains in the tunnel for 10 to 14 days. Again, it depends on the moisture content in it. During this time, we are actively providing air to the organic waste, and we're allowing the bacteria to take over, and it's converting the solids into compost, and it's evaporating off the water from the moisture. For odor abatement, it's very important, obviously, that we have to make sure that we control any type of odors from this type of facilities. So we have ammonia scrubbers, humidifiers, biofilters, and a 60-meter dispersion stack. We just recently upgraded our odor abatement system in 2021, and on my next slide, I'll talk a little bit about that. It's come to its end of its useful life, and there was some substantial upgrades in excess of $6 million. Our permitted capacity in London is about 150,000 tons per year, and our sweet spot is to operate around 100 to 115,000 tons per year. And that's what we would strive to. Right now, I think we're operating at around about 80 to 85,000 tons. So the facility upgrades we did in 2021, again, our odor abatement system was coming to the end of its useful life. We found that in southwestern Ontario, the summers were getting hotter and hotter every year on record. We were setting new records. And so one of the challenges we were having was being able to cool the air before it went into our biofilters. So we replaced our 2 ammonia scrubbers, and the ammonia scrubbers, when you compost organic waste, the biggest contaminant that you would ever create is ammonia. And so what this does is, as the air from the facility, the whole facility is underneath negative pressure, as it goes through the scrubbers, there is a sulfuric acid solution at about 20%, and then it encapsulates the ammonia and actually converts it into what we call ammonia sulfate, and that's a CIFA registered fertilizer that we sell to local farmers who typically spray it in the spring on their wheat. So we replaced the bioscrubber biological component. We also updated our cooling system now for the heat exchangers. And why this is really important was we want to make sure that we maintain our biofilters at no more than 36 degrees Celsius. And because we were getting record temperatures, we were finding that number was climbing higher. So with the upgraded cooling system, since 2021, I don't think we've ever gone over 36 degrees. So we've got a lot of excess cooling capacity to keep that biofilter happy. And it's really about just keeping the bugs happy to polish the air before it goes out. We also updated most of our rooftop ductwork, because again, it'd been there since 2010, so it was coming to the end of its useful life. So odor control, talked a little bit about this already. So this is something that we really focus on. Our Dutch technology, which is a sister company of ours in the Netherlands, this is their area of expertise. So we work collaboratively with them when we designed the new ammonia scrubber. So we placed 2 of them on top of the roof. These ammonia scrubbers were to take ammonia, which the incoming air into the scrubber would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 to 300 ppm of ammonia. And when it comes out the other side, it is down to 2 ppm of ammonia. So they're very efficient and operate extremely well to lower the ammonia out of the air. And then the final step is going through the biofilter, where it's like a polishing step, and the bacteria is taking out any last contaminants before it's out through the water vapor goes out through our 60-meter stack. We also like to take a proactive approach when it comes to odor, and so that's odor monitoring. We use a company out of California called Enos, and so this is an example. You can see it's on a laptop. And so what it is inside of our stack, there is a cluster of sensors that measures the odor units that are coming on our stack. And so we monitor this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It takes a reading pretty well every 3 minutes. And in conjunction with a very sophisticated weather station that we have located at our site, it's measuring the barometric pressure, wind direction, temperature, and it does modeling. And so what this does is it allows us to understand If there is the potential that we're approaching a 1 odor unit, that is our limit that we're allowed to have. And we've set alarms in place that once it gets to 0.8, it will notify our employees so that we can take a look at what is going on in our operations and be proactive as opposed to reactive. And we found this to be a very good tool. We've implemented this at 3 of our sites across Canada, and it allows us to stay out in front, and it also allows us to interact with our neighbors if they have any questions or concerns. And here's the video that I'm going to play for you. So it's about a 2.5 minute long video.
Convertus is committed.
And it just shows
Convertus
you
is committed to inspiring.
sorry. And the video, just as a little preface to it, it really, we had it shot, and we've done this at most of our facilities. And the reason we do this is because a lot of times people want to know what goes on behind the doors. And so this really kind of walks it from one end to the other, and it gives you a layman's sense of what we're actually doing inside the facility. So.
And empowering communities to give resources new life by converting organic waste into renewable energy and nutrient-rich fertilizers. We have the unique ability to design, build, operate, and service organic waste treatment facilities. Convertus has processed over 2 million tons of organic waste since 2008, starting with our first processing facility in London, Ontario. At this facility, we utilize advanced in-vessel composting technology to convert organic waste into compost. Here's how it works. Our process starts in the receiving hall, where organic waste is trucked to the facility and unloaded into one of our receiving bays. Front-end loaders feed incoming organics through a low-speed shredder, exposing organic waste for processing. Our process experts mix freshly shredded waste with wood chips and screened material that is returned from past composting cycles. The freshly shredded waste is moved to our in-vessel compost tunnels that utilizes a spigot aeration system that injects air into the material. Once the composting tunnels have been filled, the doors are closed to create a fully contained composting environment. The Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, otherwise known as SCADA, is a computer-controlled system that monitors the internal environment through sensors in each tunnel and adjusts the temperature, humidity, and pressure levels through the spigot aeration system, which optimizes biological activity. After this composting process is complete, the material is transferred from our tunnels to our compost screening system, where the fine compost fraction is separated from the larger pieces of organic material and contamination like plastic, glass, stones, or metal. The final product is tested by a third-party lab to ensure we are meeting all quality requirements before it's sold as nutrient-rich compost to local agricultural partners. During the natural composting process, proteins found in food waste break down and release an unpleasant odor called ammonia. Our fully enclosed facility was designed to mitigate any odor impact on our nearby communities by maintaining negative air pressure within the building. This allows us to capture and treat all facility and process air through our odor abatement system before it is released. Process air and facility air is first treated through ammonia scrubbers, which utilizes an acid misting system to attach to ammonia particles and produce ammonium sulfate, a CFIA registered fertilizer utilized by nearby farmers. After the scrubbers, the air is cooled and humidified before passing through our wood chip biofilters to absorb any remaining odor compounds before being dispersed through our 70-meter stack as water vapor. Our mission and purpose is to create a better world for future generations by reducing methane emissions through sustainable organic waste processing. We continually invest in new technologies to further decarbonize our operations, including the installation of commercial heat exchangers at our London facility to capture and reuse thermal energy produced from our building and composting process in replacement of fossil fuel heating sources. Here at Convertus, we are closing the loop for a better future. Let's build a sustainable future for our children together.
Great. So I hope that sheds a little bit more light on exactly what happens at our facility here in London, Ontario, without having to put all the gear on and go for a tour through the facility. My last slide is just a little bit about the quality products that we make from the compost. And so I really put it into 3 categories. The first one is what we call NASM. This is a Class B compost that is applied to local farmlands to improve the soil structure and boost nutrient levels. So a lot of farmers, when they grow their crops year in and year out, they really deplete the nutrients in the soil. And so typically they would use synthetic fertilizers or chemical derived fertilizers in order to replenish the soil. And our NASM is actually an opportunity for them to disc it back into their soil and replenish it for the next growing season. So we work with a lot of local farmers, and mainly because of the bulk of volume of material we make, that farmers are our main source of customers for that.
Sorry, Mike. I just want to interrupt. Sorry. Are you able to speak up a bit? Your sound is just a bit low.
My apologies. How's that? Is that a little better? Maybe can you hear me a little bit better now?
Excellent. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. The middle one, compost. So we also do make a Class A compost, and we will work with the City of London in order to do some giveaways once the program is up and running, and we've had the opportunity to convert the London organic waste into compost. And we have a bagging line in New Brunswick, so we will do some of the organic waste from here into bags and provide that and compost giveaways. And then the final one is ammonia sulfate, which was a byproduct of our odor abatement system. This is CIFA registered, and it has a low pH balance that we sell back to local farmers that they spray on their fields. And that is everything.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much, Mike, for your presentation and your time. It's interesting to see kind of a glimpse in the behind the scenes of the processing, and then also what the for folks to learn about the products that will be produced with Convertis. So thank you. And again, thank you to all of our speakers as well. I will pass it over to Joanna for the final portion of tonight's session. And she will share some questions from everyone.
Thanks so much, Caitlin. Okay, it's been brisk business in the Q&A, to say the least. So I stopped at about 80 questions, and I've condensed them. So what I think I'm going to start with, and by the way, thank you for all of your questions. I did respond to some of you individually who were letting us know as we went through. So thank you so much for that too. I think what I'm going to do, Jay and Jessica, I think I'm just going to shoot a list of like 5 things that people are asking, whether or not they go in. Great questions. And we can just do a quick lightning round, if you will. Okay. So napkins with colored ink.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It gets better.
And Jess, make sure you correct me, because remember where some of these things were...
I'm listening and thinking.
Q-tips.
Joanna, this is an interesting one. The answer is no. And one reason is because we're now starting to get it crossing into that line of when is it garbage versus when is it an organic material. So Q-tips is a good example, a hard no.
They come in plastic too. So just the middle piece.
Good stuff. Here's a great question too. This one was, do we put the whole fog, it's fat, oil, grease cup, do we put the whole fog cup into the green bin?
Yes.
The whole fog cup. Good. I have a follow-up on that, but let's keep going. Tissues with mucus and or blood.
You know, these are good questions. They get tough. So let's face it here. That's so the answer is yes. It'll be a decision you make on your own. You know, if that can be sort of tucked away so it's not quite visible, because let's face it here, the collector will be opening up that bin and dumping it. So do keep that in mind. So I don't know, Jess, that's a yes, but boy, let's think about that one.
A tip for that one may be to wrap it in some soiled paper products such as newspaper or, you know, a paper bag that would contain that item so the collector wouldn't come into contact should just, you know, reducing exposure to
Great
that
point.
item.
Great point. How about if it's bird waste in a paper towel? Let's get into it.
Yeah, you know, right now I'm saying no, because that starts opening the door for pet waste. So let's go with a hard no on that for right now. Anything to
Gotcha.
do with pets, so that includes those gerbils as well.
Okay, just two more. I know I said 5, but there were more. I didn't want to frighten you. So, egg cartons.
I'm gonna go on this one, Jess. If it's in good shape, that's an item that we easily recycle. But let's face it here, if that can help you with the composting process, if you use that as a liner at the bottom of your kitchen container, that's wonderful, because that's going to be very easy to compost. So there's an example of an item under sort of soiled food paper.
It may help also too with not having material stick to the bottom of the green bin. So it's a tip that we've found out from other municipalities or those that have used a green bin elsewhere.
It's like that greasy food, greasy pizza box. If it's a good cardboard box for pizza, not much food on it, that's in the recycling bin, please. But if it's covered in pizza and whatever, and the oils from the cheese, that's a great item to have in your compost bin. It'll serve multi-purposes, and it will disappear very quickly inside the composting facility.
Excellent. Thanks so much. One more. Tea bags. Do tea bags go in the green bin?
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Okay, that's great. Thanks so much for that. So let's bring in some of other speakers here, and Jay and Jessica, feel free to jump in. Someone was saying that this morning their green bin was iced shut. So they were asking why wasn't there some kind of like rubber gasket around the lid? So I can put it to Jay and Jessica, or bring it out to Diana, Alexander, and Joan to see if they had any icing problems or solutions. So whoever wants to jump in, please do.
I can start with the first answer to that. It may just be a storage tip. So if possible, if you're storing the green bin outside, have it outside against an exterior wall that maybe have an overhang. It may just mean that snow is not gathering on top of that lid and causing it to freeze around that seal. That's just one tip, and that may help.
Great. Okay, Joan, Alexander, Diana, any thoughts on that one?
It has also happened to me in the past, and I do not have a good solution.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, that's an environmental thing for sure. Let me jump in with another quick one and a very practical one, and that would be the green bin collection calendars. So someone was saying, how do I access them? Where are they? Are they online? Let's talk about that. How do people get those calendars if they don't have them?
Well, they've got to open up their green bin and make sure, because that's where it should be. But we know you might want one or two more. So Jess, you've been working hard on the zone finding tool and with our information technology services folks.
That's correct. Just to also add a little bit more information to what was included in your green bin. There was quite a few pieces, so just might mean shuffling through them to see where that schedule got tucked inside, or up again if it's stuck up against one of those other printed items. Currently, the Zone Finder application on the City of London website, you can click on an embedded link in that blue toolbar at the top, and it'll bring you to a tool that's a city map feature. You can put in your address in the search bar and download your collection schedule right there based off of your address. So that will provide, the information as to what new zone you're in. Printed copies can be picked up at City Hall on the first floor. And we'll also have schedules for pickup at our Enviro Depot locations. And for those that have the Recycle Coach application that sends reminders, that new schedule is going to go live January 12th. So that's going to be on Friday. And our new Zone Finder application on the City of London website that populates the calendar schedule right on the screen is also going to go live midday on January 12th.
Perfect. Thank you so much. There was a follow-up question about where to get fog cups. I know they're available at libraries. What other locations can people pick up fog cups?
You're welcome to join us at the Enviro Depot. So those are the two locations, and I believe at City Hall as well. So
Perfect. Let's get into liners. Again, we can chat about London and then other experiences folks have had. Can flyers, so like advertising flyers, go into these bins as liners, or is it just newspaper?
No, an advertising flyer would be just fine.
Great. Okay, that's easy. Right. Okay. We're doing well. We have about 10 more minutes to have questions, and I'll just repeat it again for anyone who didn't hear. We will be answering your questions in a follow-up email as well. And as you may see, if you open the chat, there are some links there as well to some of the sites we're talking about as we answer the questions. Okay, here's another practical one, and we can have Joan and Alexander and Diana jump in as well. What are your tips on affordable ways, but also good stores and sites where you can buy liner bags, compostable, obviously, based on our discussion tonight, not plastic bags, but like, let's have some tips, like how, what are some great stores? What are some brands? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Who wants to jump in on that one?
Well, I know, oh, sorry, Joan. Well, I know in Kitchener, like even dollar stores had ones that we could use in Sobeys, so they weren't that expensive at all. I know that the City of London has, you have to have a specific logo or something for your compostable bag. I don't know. But anyway, they were pretty cheap and pretty easy to find in Kitchener.
Okay, the dollar store. Thanks, Diana. Yeah.
I was using a lot of paper bags that I was getting from like bakeries or takeout or that kind of thing as well as liners.
Nice.
Yeah, me as well. I was primarily using wrappers that were compostable that were coming with the food I was purchasing. And as far as liners that you can purchase, unfortunately, my experience being out of province, not too many stores that would be accessible here. I can definitely second Diana's dollar store recommendation for that. And possibly Amazon as well. Sometimes there's good deals there.
Thank you. And what are we looking for, Jay and Jessica? What are we looking for when what words, what symbols, as Diana was mentioning, what do we zone in on when we're buying these liners, if we're using them?
There's you'll see in your information that we have there's a logo you look for. It essentially says certified compostable. So look at the guide that's been provided, and it provides a good example of the logo as well. A sample has been provided and coupons as well too. So that helps to get started. Now, I guess though, I really want to emphasize though, is that it's trial and error, because if you can avoid having to buy something, that's ideal. So that idea of working with a paper bag or something like that, that egg carton, those I think are really the first options you should look at. But no, it's really a preference. And we have notified, I believe, over 250 stores in London a good month or so ago to make sure you're ready for all of this. Others were notified actually last fall as the green bin started to roll out that this was going to occur here in London. And it's very consistent with what other municipalities are doing. That logo and the name certified compostable is key, because it will break down properly in the process that you heard all about tonight.
Great point. Jessica.
Yes. So you can find that information on page 10 of your guide, and also on the city's website, london.ca/greenbin.
Excellent. Just a quick follow-up to that, a question: can you use yard waste bags inside the green bin as a way to keep the green bin clean?
Sure.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. I like quick answers. That's great.
But sorry, Joanna, that doesn't mean you can sneak some yard waste in there, okay?
Okay, no sneaking yard waste. Nope, we don't want it. Okay, good. So let's get into a question that came up a few times here about businesses. So we had a childcare center saying we didn't get a green bin, and another person saying, are they going to supermarkets and other businesses? What's the plan there?
This is for residential.
Residential.
Residential only. Businesses, nothing stops them right now. They can contact Mike. They can contact the other processor in town. There are other opportunities that exist, but we're focusing on curbside households, and then we're going to work alongside multi-residential. So unfortunately, not the businesses.
Gotcha. And is there, because we had several questions about that too, is there a plan for the rollout for multi-residential buildings?
The pilot project is what we are going to start with. We're looking at about 10 to 15 buildings coming online to learn on how to roll out the other. There's well over, I think it's about 600-700 buildings in London that eventually have to have a system in place. That's a big undertaking that we're going to have to work closely with groups like the London Property Management Association, a number of specific builders on how this is going to work. So that's a whole separate undertaking. We're kind of doing one big chunk at a time. And the first one is these 130,000 households. We got to work with them to get this system running as best as possible and as soon as possible.
Right. So the pilot project for the buildings is going to happen in the future.
February and March for 10 to 15 buildings.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that came up too. We had, you mentioned this a bit, Jay, but the barcode in the green bin, can you just go over what that's for?
I'll hand that one to you, Jessica.
Yeah. So every green bin that's been delivered to curbside households has a unique serial number that's located on the side of the bin. It's on the opposite side of the city logo. So when that bin gets delivered to a household, the distribution team that drops these off will scan that barcode with a device that then registers or keeps track of where that bin has been delivered. So that serial number then gets assigned to a municipal address. And that serial number will help if we find a stray bin, it will find out where it belongs.
Terrific. Thanks so much. And I think we'll pull Mike into this one, this next question. I'm just going to take another minute and hopefully just get one other question after this. But the question is the facility set up and ready to make green bin waste into fertilizer for local farms? That's the question there.
Yes, we've been doing that for a number of years now.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks so much. And let me see, I'm just trying to grab the last one here because there are so many great questions and I really want to thank everyone. Oh, animal proof. We had, I think, at least 5 people asking about the animal proofness, if I can say so, of the bins and what's been done to help that out.
The latch at the top of the container is something that snaps tight. So for the most part, that will serve that purpose. Now, to be honest, though, that if a crafty raccoon, and we know many of them are, it may open that. So these are things that we're going to have to learn as we go. Make sure, though, that you don't use a bungee cord for extra tying that down. It's work with what you have, and if we start dealing with issues about raccoons, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Other communities have been using this container, and it has not been a major concern.
Mm-hmm. There also are some tips with deterring pests, especially in the summer months when, put your green bin out each week for collection, even if it's partially full, so it's not sitting for an extended period of time. There's tips to help with control, with odors and liquids, and we've heard from the panelists on what tips they had for managing that. It might mean wrapping up food waste and then putting like a newspaper and then putting it into the green bin, just so those pests don't have as many odors to attract them to the bin. Another tip is keeping your containers clean. So it's washing out that green bin. And if you're dumping your kitchen container into the green bin, getting it right in the center of it and not hitting the rim, as that may then have residue left, and the squirrels, raccoons may smell that. So keeping it clean is another tip that will help. And the last one is either freezing certain types of food waste or putting it in your refrigerator until your collection day, and then popping it in there the morning of collection, so it's not sitting out there for a limited amount of time.
Thanks so much. Yeah, a few people said that in our Q&A too, to get it in the freezer, that they've done that in other cities too. So thanks for those suggestions. I'm going to do it because we have till 8:30 and we don't have too much more left to say, but I'm going to get one other question in here that is on people's minds. And that I think is, again, very practical. And what people would like to know is, for the pickup, does the green bin have to be a particular distance away, for example, from the blue bin, two-parter here? And is the green bin going to be placed nicely back where it is or upside down like the blue bin?
The container will be placed in the same spot where it was collected from. Now, keep in mind, 1 week it's going to be with your blue boxes. The next week it'll be with your blue boxes and your garbage. That separation, the blue box is collected by a different company. So having the blue boxes on the other side of the driveway, if that's what you're able to do now, please carry on that same practice. Put the green bin beside the garbage containers, because the truck that comes by is 2 compartments. It will be collecting garbage and green bin on that particular week. On the following week, it'll be collecting only the green bin. So there's your distinction. Blue boxes to one side, green bin and garbage for that week on the other side.
Terrific. That's great. I think we have to leave it there. Unfortunately, as I say, I had so many questions, but we will get to them, and just such a great discussion, bringing in all these questions at the end. So with that, we're just going to do a quick wrap up tonight with, again, deep thanks for everyone who has shared with us. So let's share a few comments, and thanks, Mackenzie. We've got the slide up there too. So we're going to let you know about some links here that are a help. We've already put them in the chat, but for more information, including some of the questions we didn't get to tonight, some of the answers, london.ca/greenbin. Please head over there for more information, as well as our Green in the City series, which we've had a great year so far, and we're going to be having more events into the spring. So please check that out too on London Environmental Network's website, londonenvironment.net/green city. And as I say, you will be receiving an email, the one you registered with for this event, with not only great resources that we've shown tonight, answers to more questions, and of course, we couldn't forget library resources, because I can't stop sharing book recommendations. So we'll have some other resources too, if you want to learn more about some of these issues on the theme of composting and other ways to support the environment that way. And honestly, I think we can wrap it up here. What I'll do is just put it back to our guests for any final comments. So why don't we start with Jay and Jessica to see if you have any final comments before we sign off for tonight.
Well, on behalf of the city, I would like to thank everyone that has joined us. You know, we were just shy, I think, of 500 at one point. That is incredible. So that just shows the enthusiasm. The way this was set up tonight, with 3 folks that are in London now, but have actually been involved in the green bin, that is such a cool idea, and it works so well. So I'm from the city. Thank you for spending time and sharing those ideas. We know you were put on the spot a little bit, but I don't know, really some excellent learnings. We're going through baby steps here. Next week we're launching. So I'm hoping the 3 of you are also working with your neighbors to make sure they help they get it right. So wonderful. And a big thanks, of course, to Mike Leopold and his team at Convertus to get ready for London delivering. So we're looking forward to the green bin arriving next week. Joanna, yourself, and Mackenzie and Caitlin working alongside the library and London Environmental Network. It's just wonderful to see the diversity of people in the community joining us, and the different people that are all supportive of environmental projects. And my last comment here, it's all to do with climate change. We all have a responsibility, and what we're doing here tonight is learning a little bit more on our individual actions. So thanks so much. And Jess, if I missed anything there, I talk too much.
No, I think you captured everything quite nicely, and just a big thank you from myself to everyone as well. Appreciate all your time tonight.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone. And unless anyone has any other final words, I'll just echo everyone's thank you, and a lovely evening to everyone on this rainy January night. And we'll see you next time, and we'll definitely be following up, as I say, and have lots of places for you to find more information and ask your questions. So with that, a very good night to everyone.